The first time I saw Walter Graham, I fell madly in love with him. We were 8 years old. I loved his blonde hair, his blue eyes, even his chubbiness. Mostly, I loved his smile. It was the smile of a really nice boy. Walter played Hansel in our third grade production of Hansel and Gretel. I longed to be Gretel, but Beth Ann Todd got that role. She was short and perky. I was relegated to the chorus, in the back row, on the end, because I was tall. I sang my loudest, hoping Walter might notice me, but he didn't. In the fourth grade, he finally noticed me. "Ew," he said whenever he saw me. Sometimes he held his nose, too. Walter hated me. I had no idea why. One day, I walked by his desk. "Ew," he said to John Baker, who sat next to him. "Her feet are so big." "Ew," John said. I looked at my feet. I hadn't known they were big. Hot tears filled my eyes. I wiped them on the sleeve of my dress. That night, I asked my father if I had big feet. He was a building contractor. He said, "Big buildings need big foundations." I cried myself to sleep. After that, I stayed far away from Walter Graham and tucked my feet underneath me whenever I could. At slumber parties, I stuffed my shoes in my overnight bag so no one could see how big they were. In high school, I broke my toe and had to wear a cast. It was the size of Italy. I begged to stay home from school until it healed. I was a big building with a bigger than ever foundation. When the phone rang one morning last summer, the last thing I expected to hear was the friendly, chatty voice of Walter Graham. He was on our 50th high school reunion committee and wanted to know if I was coming. I tried to be nonchalant. I said I wasn't sure. The thought of it stirred up all of my old doubt about myself. "I really hope you come," Walter said, "and I want you to save a dance for me." Yeah, right, I thought. I can step on his toes with my big feet. Then my friend Carolyn called from California. We've known each other since first grade. She wanted to go. I said, "Oh, Carolyn, just come for a visit. Let's skip the reunion." She was on to me. "Come on. You have a successful business. You have a great life. You look better than you did in high school. If I can fly across the country from California, you can drive your ass across town. Let's go." What the hell, I thought. It's only a weekend. The first day of the reunion, I had my hair freshly colored, so no trace of gray showed. I tried on every outfit in my closet and chose a simple black dress and black ballet flats. By this point in my life, I'd given speeches to large audiences. As an attorney, I'd argued landmark civil rights cases with the press in the courtroom. I'd ziplined high above rainforests. But none of that compared to the anxiety I felt walking into that reunion ballroom. I immediately found Carolyn. A sound system was playing the Beatles, Motown, and other hits from our teenage years. We found a group of old friends and began to catch up. Walter Graham suddenly appeared by my side. He'd been a handsome, popular football star in high school, but his blonde hair was now gray. His blue eyes were hidden by glasses, and he'd regained his childhood chubbiness, plus some. He wasn't intimidating anymore. In fact, looking around this room full of senior citizens, no one was intimidating. I've been divorced for 7 years, Walter said. No girlfriend. He winked at me. I smiled politely. How about that dance, he said. Before I could say no, he grabbed me around the waist and led me out to the middle of the empty dance floor. Walter pulled me close. Let's stir up some gossip, he said. These old folks need something to talk about. He had a point. The biggest topics of conversation so far had been golf and grandchildren. I think we should fall in love this weekend, he said. Oh, really? Yeah, he said, just a little, like in high school, puppy love. His smile was disarming. How do you know I'm single? I asked. He said, Facebook. He asked all about my kids. He sounded sincere and interested. We laughed and danced for close to an hour, and then went to the class hospitality suite with Carolyn. The room was noisy and crowded. People squinted at name tags and told each other that they looked exactly the same. I made my way around the room by myself. I spoke to friends and people I'd never known. Everyone was warm and friendly. I rejoined Walter. He put his arm around my shoulder. We're having a sunrise wedding ceremony Sunday morning, he said to the group that we were standing with. Down on the beach. They looked at Walter and then at me. Sue's going to marry us, right, Sue? Walter said to a woman who'd become a minister. Really? She looked at me. Yeah, I said, Sunday morning. That way we can have the honeymoon first, tomorrow night. Well, good night, everyone, I said. I have a big day tomorrow, shopping for my wedding dress and all. I'll walk my fiancée to her car, Walter said, and followed me downstairs. He said, You're so much fun. You didn't always think that, I said. Do you remember bullying me in the 4th grade? He didn't. I told him how he'd held his nose when he saw me. I didn't mention the part about my feet. His face fell. I hope you don't still hold that against me. Of course not, I said. I didn't tell him that I had until a few hours earlier. As I got in my car, Walter said, You are coming back tomorrow night, right? I wouldn't miss it, I said. I meant it. The next afternoon, I went to the Asian nail parlor near my house. Pedicure, please, I said. I sat down and plunged my feet into the hot water to soak. Usually, I wondered what the tiny people who worked there thought about my feet. But not that day. I'd spent nearly 60 years feeling insecure because of an insult from an 8-year-old. When I was 8, I wasn't 8 anymore. It was time to grow up. I went home and put on a dress that was sexier than the one I had planned to wear. The top was low cut, and the short ruffled skirt was perfect for dancing. I scrambled to the back of my closet and grabbed a pair of strappy heels. I put them on, looked down at my feet, and wiggled my bright pink toes.